Imagine standing on a beach, but the sky isn't blue, it is sulfur yellow. The sea isn't blue, it is violet and reeks of rotten eggs. There are no birds, no insects, no sound except for the hissing of gases venting from the ground. This isn't an alien planet. This is Earth, your home. 252 million years ago. Welcome to the reality of our planet, a planet that is actively trying to kill everything on its surface. Today, we aren't talking about climate change as you see it on the news. We are talking about the true history of life on Earth. A history defined not by harmony and balance, but by violence, annihilation, and hard reboots. 99% of all species that have ever lived are extinct. We are the 1% that remains. For now. We are going to reveal the Big Five, the 5 great mass extinctions. And we will show you why we are only here because of luck. Pure, blind luck. Let's start with a brutal truth. Life is not welcome on Earth. We like to think our planet is some kind of Garden of Eden designed to nurture us. That is an illusion. Geological history proves the exact opposite. Earth is a volatile, violent system. Tectonic shifts, volcanic eruptions, atmospheric upheavals. Life is not a permanent resident here. It is a squatter, constantly one step away from eviction. The first great slaughter happened about 445 million years ago. The Ordovician-Silurian event. Back then, life was almost exclusively in the ocean. Trilobites, brachiopods, bizarre creatures that looked like something out of an H.P. Lovecraft nightmare. And then, darkness. A massive ice age, likely triggered by the supercontinent Gondwana drifting over the South Pole. Or perhaps a gamma-ray burst from deep space that incinerated the ozone layer. The result was horrific. The water froze. Sea levels plummeted. The shallow seas, the very cradle of life, simply vanished. The creatures living there suffocated or froze to death. 85% of all species were wiped out. Just like that. Millions of years of evolution erased in a geological blink of an eye. And that was just the beginning. The planet's first warning shot. Jump forward 70 million years. The late Devonian. Life had recovered. There were massive reefs, armored fish, and the first forests were spreading across the land. And those very forests might have been the killer. The theory is cynical, but scientifically sound. The plants became too successful. Their roots broke apart the rock, washing nutrients into the oceans. The result was a massive algae bloom. The oceans turned green and slimy. The algae died, bacteria decomposed them, and in the process, consumed all the oxygen in the water. Anoxia. The oceans suffocated. Fish, the rulers of the seas, gasped for air that wasn't there. It was a slow, agonizing death over millions of years. The Devonian extinction teaches us a vital lesson. Life itself can be its own worst enemy. The plants changed the climate, cooled the planet, and poisoned the seas. It wasn't an asteroid. It wasn't a volcano. It was biological suicide. A system spiraling out of control. Does that sound familiar? It should. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepares you for the great dying. The Permian-Triassic event, 252 million years ago. This wasn't just an extinction. This was nearly the end of all biological existence. 96% of all marine species, 70% of all land vertebrates, gone. If you have a time machine, never, under any circumstances, go to the late Permian. What happened? Siberia happened. The Siberian traps. A volcanic event on a scale we cannot comprehend today. Imagine the entire United States covered in lava, kilometers deep. This didn't last for years or centuries. It lasted for hundreds of thousands of years. The planet vomited magma. But the lava wasn't the main problem. It was the gas. Gigantic amounts of carbon dioxide and methane were released. Global temperatures spiked by 10 degrees Celsius. The oceans became as hot as bathwater. And then the chemistry collapsed. The water acidified so severely that shellfish simply dissolved. Their skeletons disintegrated while they were still alive. And as if that weren't enough, bacteria began producing hydrogen sulfide, a toxic gas that turned the coastlines into dead zones. Picture the scene. On land, a drought that lasted millennia. The vast forests of the Permian died. There were no trees left, only fungi decomposing the dead wood. The animals that survived, like the mammal-like reptiles, the gorgonopsids, starved or suffocated. Their lungs could no longer function in the thin, scorching air. It was a world of ash and death. The sky was permanently darkened by volcanic ash, then glowing red from the greenhouse effect. Acid rain, as strong as battery acid, fell from the sky, burning everything that still breathed. It was hell on earth, literally. It took 10 million years for the earth to recover. 10 million years of silence. And who survived? Lystrosaurus, a small, pig-like animal that lived in burrows and ate roots. Our ancestors. We do not descend from the majestic kings of the Permian. We descend from the scavengers who were cowardly enough to bury themselves deep underground to avoid being cooked. That is our lineage. Survival through cowardice and adaptation. Then came the Triassic. Life crawled back, and barely had it established itself when the Earth struck again. 200 million years ago. The Triassic-Jurassic event. Volcanoes again, this time in the Atlantic. CO2 again. Acidification again. 50% of species vanished. But this event is particularly interesting because it cleared the path for history's most famous monsters. Before this extinction, crocodile relatives were the rulers. Dinosaurs were small, scrappy underdogs. But the crocodiles couldn't handle the climate change. The dinosaurs could. Why? We don't know exactly. Maybe their lungs were more efficient. Maybe they grew faster. When the smoke cleared, the world was empty, and the dinosaurs took it over. They grew big, huge. They dominated the planet for 135 million years, an eternity. They probably thought they were invincible, the crown of creation. They had no idea that in the cold vacuum of space, a rock with their name on it was already on its way. Let's get to the most famous event. The KPG impact, 66 million years ago, the day the dinosaurs died. It's a story we all know, but we fail to grasp the violence of it. An asteroid 10 to 15 kilometers wide hit the Yucatan Peninsula. It was moving at 20 kilometers per second. The impact released more energy than billions of atomic bombs. In a fraction of a second, rock was vaporized into plasma. A shockwave raced around the globe, killing everything in its path instantly. Tsunamis, hundreds of meters high, devastated coastlines worldwide. But the impact itself was just the beginning. The real killing happened in the hours and days that followed. The debris, the vaporized rock launched into space, condensed there and rained back down on the entire Earth as glowing glass beads. The atmosphere heated up like an oven. The surface temperature rose to hundreds of degrees. The world's forests spontaneously burst into flames. Imagine a T-Rex, a perfect predator. And then the sky begins to burn. He has nowhere to hide. He is grilled alive. Not just him. Everything larger than a house cat that couldn't burrow underground died on that single day. It was a global execution. Then came the winter. The soot from the global fires and the dust from the impact blocked out the sun. Years of darkness. Photosynthesis stopped. The food chain collapsed. The herbivores starved. The carnivores starved. 75% of all species gone. But again, there were survivors. Small, rat-like mammals, our direct ancestors. They lived underground. They ate insects, roots, carrion. They needed little food. They could wait. When the sun finally came back out, the world was empty. The monsters were gone. The era of mammals had begun. Our rise is built on a cosmic accident. We need to pause and reflect on the meaning of these events. Evolution is not a linear process of improvement. It is a gamble. The dinosaurs didn't go extinct because they were bad or primitive. They were perfectly adapted. They were just unlucky. A rock from space doesn't care about fitness. This also means we are not here because we are the best. We are here because our ancestors were small, inconspicuous, and adaptable. We are the descendants of the survivors, not the conquerors. Every time the Earth hit the reset button, the direction of life changed radically. Without that asteroid, intelligent reptiles would likely be running this channel today. Or perhaps there would be no intelligence at all. Mammalian dominance was not predestined. It was a byproduct of a catastrophe. We are the children of the apocalypse. And now? Now we find ourselves in the middle of the sixth mass extinction, the Holocene extinction, or better, the Anthropocene. This time, there is no asteroid. There are no volcanoes in Siberia. This time, it's us. We are changing the chemistry of the atmosphere faster than the volcanoes of the Permian. We are acidifying the oceans. We are cutting down the forests. We are spreading invasive species. The extinction rate today is 100 to 1,000 times higher than the natural background rate. We are the Chicxulub impactor. We are the Siberian traps. The irony is bitter. We study these ancient disasters, hunt for fossils, analyze rock layers. And meanwhile, we are reproducing the exact conditions that led to the death of almost all life back then. We know what happens when CO2 skyrockets. We have the geological receipts. The Permian showed us. And yet, we are flooring the gas pedal. Scientists debate whether we have already reached the tipping point. When ecosystems collapse, it often doesn't happen linearly. It's like a Jenga tower. You pull a block, nothing happens. You pull another, it wobbles. And then you pull the wrong block, and everything comes crashing down. Coral reefs are dying worldwide. Insect populations are collapsing. Amphibians are vanishing. These are the canaries in the coal mine. The system is warning us. The Earth has no problem with mass extinctions. It has already survived 5. It will survive the 6th, too. Life will return. It will look different. Maybe giant cockroaches. Maybe intelligent rats. The question isn't whether life survives. The question is whether we survive. And if you look at history, the odds are bad. The dominant species, the apex predators, are always the first to go when the system flips. We are the apex predators. We are at the very top of the list. Let's look back one last time. 5 times, life stood at the edge of the abyss. 5 times, the biological clock was reset. Each time, a new world emerged, completely alien to the one before. The Earth is a graveyard we are dancing on. We should stop viewing nature as a gentle mother. She is a serial killer. She is indifferent. She will shake us off like fleas if we destabilize the climate too much. The geological clock is ticking. The next catastrophe isn't a question of if, but when. Maybe a volcano, maybe a virus, maybe our own greed. The next time you see a bird, remember, that is a dinosaur that got lucky. The next time you look in the mirror, remember, you are the product of 5 apocalypses. Wear that with pride, but also with humility, because the Earth owes us nothing, absolutely nothing. Welcome to reality. Life is the exception. Death is the rule. We've been lucky for a long time. How long will our winning streak last?